Hello, Movie Crusaders, and welcome to a very special episode. As today, no, we're not talking about the 5 movies that come out this weekend, but we are talking about one of Brian, Michael's, and myself's most anticipated films of 2021, and that is the new video game adaptation, Mortal Kombat. I don't know about you, Brian, but Mortal Kombat has been a part of my life since I was a young 8-year-old boy when the first game came out in 1993. Played the hell out of the first 3 games. And then I started to kind of teeter away when they started making like the spin-off games and all that shit. But the first film, Mortal Kombat 1995, is it a good movie? No. Is it a fun movie? Hell yeah. You don't like Mortal Kombat 95?
I thought I did, and then I rewatched it. And like, it's bad. It's like I always had this memory of the first one. You know, it wasn't good, but you know what? It was kind of fun. And the second one, Annihilation, was just complete shit. So I went back and rewatched them both, like in the last week or so, and Annihilation's definitely far worse. It's definitely far worse. Yeah. But that first one's not good either. It's really not. Plus, if I have to hear that goddamn song one more time, they play it 500 times in the movie.
I love that song. Mortal Kombat. And I love that they tried to do a reverb of this during the credits of this one. It's like, no, it's not the same.
I liked it better. It kind of had that dubstep feel to it, but we'll get to the new movie.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, no, I like I said, I said I like so many times. I recognize that 1995 film is not a good film, but I enjoy it. I enjoyed the cast in the fifth one, or the fifth one, and the 95 one is a fantastic acting. No, but to me they're memorable. I remember Lambert's write-in and is it Robin Shou?
Robin Shou.
Robin Shou's Liu Kang, and I'm blanking on the actor who played Shang Tsung.
Cary Tagawa.
Yeah, I like those. Those 3 in particular. Like, yes, there were some other ones in the film as well, but those 3 in particular, I thought did great. And then we had Annihilation, which was. It is what it is. I don't hate it as much as a lot of people do, but
When's the last time you watched it? When's the last time you watched it?
It's been a while. Also, Katana. Loved Katana in the first and second one, because they kept her in that. But no, the second one's not, especially like when they went bestiality or animality with like grows into like a dragon. If I can find the picture, I'll post it right here. But then Mortal Kombat, once we got into the next gen like gaming ages, Mortal Kombat 9, 10, 11, you started to get a lot better. The gaming got rejuvenized. They started adding like Alien, RoboCop, Rambo, Terminator. Really, and then you got the DC characters in it. But the one thing that we had always been wanting has been a new movie. Now, granted, we did get the it was a YouTube series, right? It was like 6 episodes.
It was a web series. I want to say it was YouTube, but I'm not sure about that. It might have just been like on a website.
I think it was called like Mortal Kombat Legacy or something like
Legacy,
that.
And then like a year or so later, they did Legacy Volume 2 as well.
Yeah, and those were really good. They were I really liked them at the time. I haven't watched them since they aired, but I remember really enjoying them because it was the closest thing. Because 95, yes, it was what it was, but it was still very, very, very toned down. Legacy, it was kind of grungy, dark, gory to the budget that it had, because obviously it didn't have a big budget or anything. But I think it did well enough to kind of get that hunger for a R-rated movie. And with the actors that we have nowadays, from like the guys from The Raid and The Night Comes For Us and those guys, throwing them into this Mortal Kombat world, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? Because I cut you off, so I'll let you finish what you were going to say.
Well, no, I just let me go ahead and give you my kind of background on it. I was obviously like the perfect age when Mortal Kombat first came out. I played the first one in arcades, and then the second and the third one I dumped countless amount of money on a weekly basis in the arcades into those. And of course, when they came into home systems, played them like crazy. I got really good at 2 and 3 and Ultimate MK3. But like you, 4 is kind of where it dropped off. I didn't like 4. And then like I said, the spin-off games I didn't play, like the Special Forces.
I tried playing them. They're just not
things like that.
good.
It's not the same thing. But then when they and I actually played all the ones that came after that for the home systems, like they had Deception and Armageddon and Deadly Alliance and
Ultimate.
I'm sure I'm forgetting the names of some of them. And I played all those, and I actually really enjoyed those on the home systems. What got me is when they came back with Mortal Kombat. Well, just Mortal Kombat, but it was like number 9 basically.
Yeah, I think it was 9.
9, and then on to 10 and 11. It's like by then, part of it is just because of where I am in my life. Married and kids and other responsibilities, things I don't have as much time to devote to gaming. But also, it got so complex. I'm like, I can't play these games as much as I used to because like I'm just not that hardcore a gamer, and so I don't have the time to learn everything, and so I wasn't nearly as good at them. Plus, it's the whole new era where we have to release half a game and then make you pay for the rest of it in DLC for each character you want to add and everything. So it's like the new games So the new games I've played, but I've not been like really into them like I used to be. The movies, like I already kind of talked about Mortal Kombat, the 95 and Annihilation.
Well, you were talking about Legacy when I cut you off, so continue with Legacy.
Yeah, and the Legacy was I thought I had watched all those. Like I know I'd watched. There actually was one called Rebirth, which is basically like his pitch reel, because he wanted to make a movie, and then they said, well, no, we're not gonna make a movie, but we'll let you have this web series, and so then he made Legacy, which I thought I had watched them all, but it turns out I only watched like the first 3 episodes out of 9 from season 1. And I actually just this past week I watched all of Legacy, and it's like they're good kind of, but it's just obviously super low budget. They kind of all go nowhere. It's like little snippets, like a little bit of this character, a little bit of this character, but they never, characters never meet. It's not leading to anything. It clearly is kind of him still trying to pitch for a movie. So I mean, they were interesting snippets, but it wasn't a great story overall because there was no.
I took them. I took my little webisodes to get.
Yeah, that's all it was. Webisodes.
They would do a story, kind of like when Ryan Reynolds did the Deadpool reel to go. This is what we could do if you give us a film.
Yeah.
I think
they clearly never gave that particular director the film. Although the same guy who wrote those actually is one of the writers that worked on this new movie.
Yeah.
But but it did kind of, like you said, it gave you kind of a taste of like, hey, clearly there's people have an appetite for what we really want a Mortal Kombat movie to be. We want, R-rated. We want gritty. Not everything in the world has to be super bloody and gory and over violent but
this does.
Mortal Kombat, that's what Mortal Kombat is known for. So to just neuter it feels like when they came out in the 90s with the Mortal Kombat cartoon for kids. Of course, back it's like late 80s, early 90s, they come out with cartoons for Toxic Avenger and RoboCop and Rambo too.
I remember the Toxic Avenger cartoon. I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, really? You're talking about the cartoon for this very R-rated
movie? or the TNT TV series called Conquest.
Yeah, Conquest. Yeah,
it's like cool Mortal Kombat show that is not. It's basically felt like it was like a Hercules Xena ripoff.
It felt very much like that, very low budget. It had not a whole lot to do with most of the Mortal Kombat story.
Like
and the cartoon was the same way. It felt like they kind of, it's like, yeah, sure, you got the right characters, but it does not feel like Mortal Kombat at all. So yeah, that led us to today when we finally get the movie that people have been waiting for.
Real quick, before we jump into the actual film, who's your character? Who's your favorite? Not movie related, game related. Who's your Mortal Kombat guy?
It depends on the game you play, but the ones I always gravitated. See, I switched a lot. Like in 2 and 3, I was a Cabal guy actually. I could kick ass with Cabal, but I also got very good with Liu Kang and who was the other one? It might have been Jax actually. I don't know. I honestly, I would kind of switch off and on characters all the time. I didn't really have a single one because I was the kind of guy who I wanted to learn all of the fatalities, stuff like that. So I'd play through the game with all the different characters.
See, I'm not I love fighting games. I love watching the fighting games. I suck at combos, so I'm a button smasher. So
that's actually why I think maybe same thing for you. That may be why we kind of died off after those first couple of games because. After the first couple of games, I mean, in the first couple of games, there was you could put together some combos and stuff. But after that, some of those knockoff games like Killer Instinct and some of those came along, and it became, and Tekken especially, it became that dial a combo system where you have to hit a certain order of buttons and you can do these 37-hit combos. And I thought that kind of ruined the games for me because I don't know the combos. I just want to play a fighting game.
Yeah, that's what always frustrated me when I was a kid because I wasn't good with the combos. So it was like I'm trying to do back, forward, back, up, down, and you hit the button and he does low kick, and you're like, it's like fuck, But like Tekken, you could just go crazy with button smashing, and like I could fuck someone up with martial law.
You're that guy that would the whole match just by going punch.
No. Martial law, I would do the flip bicycle kick over and over and just keep you in the air, kicking you up. But for me, Mortal Kombat 1, I was always like Kano. I thought Kano was like the coolest fucking character. But then as soon as Mortal Kombat 2 came out, I found my new beloved character, and he's been like granted, like we all love Reptile and Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Mm-hmm. They're the cool looking ones, like and Cyrax and Sector. But for me, my main guy was Baraka.
I did get pretty good with Baraka. So yeah,
Baraka was my boy. He had like the long ass like Wolverine kind of like claw kind of thing, or I guess like X-Men Origins Wolverine's Deadpool.
Yeah, I was gonna say that version of Deadpool.
Basically that, but and then like the big like fanged mouth. Like Baraka was my guy. I loved Baraka. So like I always, whenever I got a new Mortal Kombat game, he was always the first character I always played with. I love doing like the fillet thing where you throw him in the air. He was my guy. Which is probably why I'm kind of more, I guess, okay with Annihilation, because Baraka shows up in Annihilation, even though he's like the putty patrol. He's like the putty patrol in there. Like there's multiple of them, and he gets killed right away. But still, get to see him. No Baraka in this film. That was very, very sad. We'll touch on the character choosing of this film. But when this trailer came out, the Red Band trailer that we all got to see was about 2 months ago. I think all of us were in agreement of, holy crap, this looks amazing. Like we were all super excited. Brian, you were too.
I was.
Yeah.
Here's my problem with the trailer, though. It's a great trailer because it shows showing all this violence like this. The problem is, I'm fairly certain they literally showed every single death in that trailer, especially that montage towards the end of the trailer.
Not true.
It's just like
there were some kills in the movie that was not in that trailer.
Well, there are very few then because they ruined all the main ones. Yeah.
Because there's one kill that I have some serious thoughts on that was not in that trailer. It could have been in one of the many other trailers they show after it that I did not watch because I knew they.
Maybe that's something. All I know is that when I watched the movie is like we watched the trailers and obviously they knew this is what's going to sell people on it, which they're right. That sold us on it, but the problem is in the process they just gave us too much.
Well, I mean, what they sold us on was Scorpion Sub-Zero's feud, which we're going to touch on that. That's basically where, I mean, let's put it this way. You take that Scorpion Sub-Zero fight in the third act, everyone. It's literally the final battle. You take that out of the trailer, like, yes, people are still going to flock to it. But I think that fight in the third act that we saw a little bit of in the trailer is what sold the movie for everybody. Okay, well, it sold it on me.
Sub-Zero and Scorpion to me was the least interesting part of the movie. They could have cut those characters, and I liked it more.
Wow. Okay. On that note, let's jump into the review. Without further ado, we got our 15 minutes of banter out of the way. You know what, Brian? I'm going to let you start. Actually, how do we want to do this? Do we want to talk about the characters? Do we want to talk about overall thoughts, fighting? Like, I don't know. There's a lot. It's a 90-minute movie, but there's a lot to unpack of this film because we got the legacy and the heritage of Mortal Kombat from all the previous, like the games, the movies, stuff like that. And then there's we just got this one film, but there's a lot of the story that we know before this movie even started. So, how do you want to do? Do you want to go characters? Or do we want to go overall?
Well, let's talk about the general setup and what they decided to do with the film, and then we can talk about about the character selection. I know you had issues with character selection. Okay. And then we can talk about specific plot points.
All right. So general perception and thoughts.
General thoughts. See, for me, I have always been very into Mortal Kombat, but I am not super attached to the story of it. For me, it was a fighting game. You play the fighting game, and yes, there was kind of stories and backstory with characters. I was not that attached to it, so they could have changed everything in the world to the stories, and that wouldn't bother me at all.
Hold on, guys. In case you haven't already figured out, this is a spoiler review.
Oh,
spoiler warning! Bam, right there. Literally, it says it on the title. But before we jump too far, spoiler
Just in
alert.
case. Just in case.
Now spoiler
Just in
alert.
case. Just in case.
Now go ahead.
So yeah, so they could have changed everything in the stories and all the characters. And I know a lot of people have issues. That's part of their issues. They didn't like how there was changes to the characters and their stories in this movie. That didn't bother me at all because I don't care about the stories. I do think that what you need for Mortal Kombat is a lot of people. You don't even need, for me, to put a tournament. Everybody wants this tournament. That movie has to have a tournament. It's like a video game, a tournament works. In a movie, to have this tournament to decide the world, it's kind of silly. So as long as you have a series of fights, these one-on-one fights of all these different characters fighting, you're getting what you want in the movie. It doesn't have to be a tournament. So again, that didn't bother me in this story. For me, what I got in it was a story that basically connected a bunch of fights, and that's what I wanted out of this movie. So yeah, that's my very general thoughts to start with. What were yours?
Wait. You kind of went over a little bit. Like, did you like it? Did you not like it?
Oh, you want to go?
Well, general thoughts. We're gonna kind of go
right up front. Okay. Yeah, I actually very much enjoyed it. Was it a perfect movie? No, but I had a hell of a lot of fun with it. For me, it's pretty much everything I hoped it would be. I think it's easily 1,000 times better than any previous incarnation of Mortal Kombat, the movies. And it's up there for me. I'm trying to think if there's any video game movies that have been better. For me, it's probably one of the best video game movies that have been made, but that's clearly a low bar up till now. But yeah, I mean, I thought it looked good. I thought the effects were good. I thought that the characters I enjoyed, but we'll get into the characters more specifically later. I thought the fight scenes were well done. The dialogue, a lot of people are picking on the dialogue. It was fun. It was, no different than you'd see in a lot of, these just kind of fun action movies. There were parts of it. The only thing I didn't like is when they felt they had to shoehorn in the lines like flawless victory and fatality. It's like every time they kind of shove one of those in, I'm kind of like, okay.
Kano wins.
Yeah. Well, that one actually worked for me. That one worked for me. We'll talk about Kano. We'll talk about Kano.
No, we're definitely gonna talk about Kano, but that line did not work for me.
It worked because it seemed like the kind of thing he would save. Like, yeah, keep him.
Flawless victory worked for me. Kano wins did not work.
First of all, it wasn't a flawless victory.
It was. She didn't do it. She didn't touch him.
She knocked him down before he did anything. But and then when he said it goes fatality for Kung Lao, I was like, what? That seemed kind of out of nowhere. But so those lines kind of. But I didn't have a problem with the dialogue. So overall, I actually very much enjoyed it. Like I said, it's not a perfect movie, but I had a lot of fun with it.
All right. Now that we got Brian's out of the way, I am still on the fence on whether or not I liked this movie or just completely and utterly disappointed with the film. I'm kind of a little bit with you on the whole tournament aspect. Granted, Mortal Kombat, the whole story in the games and what have you, none of this is ever a tournament. It's not like there's a tournament bracket. Even in the movies, when they were doing the tournament, Liu Kang only fought like once, and then he was fighting Shang Tsung. Like Sonya won, but she didn't fight anyone else, and like there's no real tournament format. Now, if it's just like a group of fighters over here against a group of fighters over here, whoever wins, it's like a little mini war. Then okay, there's no tournament. My problem is that they keep talking about the tournament.
Well, that's just it. They talk about the tournament, but then they're like, Shang Tsung is basically going to kill these people before they can go to the tournament, but that's against the rules. So wouldn't he, if this tournament does exist, wouldn't he automatically lose that tournament then?
But he did that. He tried that in 95's version too. He tried to attack them all on the boat, but then Raiden stopped him, and then Shang Tsung was like, all right, I'll back the fuck off. Where in this one, he's like, I ain't backing off on this one.
Well, that's just, I don't know who's in charge of this tournament, who created this tournament.
It's the Elder Gods.
The Elder Gods. But they're going to know you cheated, and wouldn't you just disqualify you and say, okay, you guys don't win. It just doesn't count as a win. So you don't get to take over the world because, I don't know.
There's a lot of gray area. And so like that's the part of like where there's certain story elements that don't quite match up that are in game, but don't really transition well.
Even the game, though, from game to game, it kind of got fuzzy. So you're like, whatever.
Oh, it did. It totally did. I'm not defending that part. I'm just saying, like, it's a moral gray area, basically. But I mean, that's the thing with me. It's like, did I want to see a tournament? No, I kind of wanted to see a war between Outworld and Earthrealm, but which we kind of got. But don't keep talking about a tournament and then never fucking show us the tournament. The tournament never happens. Like, so for anyone who's watching this who hasn't seen it yet, if you're super excited to watch a Mortal Kombat tournament, there's no tournament. The tournament, this whole movie is pre-tournament. And
that's just it. It's they're talking about there's supposed to be this tournament, and then there's the bad guys are trying to stop them from getting to the tournament, and so basically all this action takes place before then. Which maybe it's leading to a sequel, maybe it's just how it is.
I mean, the whole plan is this is going to be a franchise. I think they said I'm blanking on which actor he's signed on for 4 films. I'm not going to say which character or which actor because I don't want to spoil a character's outcome.
This is a spoiler review.
It's a spoiler review, but I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm
assuming it's Louis Tam, who's Cole.
No, it's the guy who plays Sub-Zero.
Oh, him. Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, it's the guy who plays Sub-Zero.
That's Joe Taslim. That's the one from.
Yeah, he signed on to 4. He signed on to 4 films. So based on how the movie ends, I was like, okay, well, Sub-Zero's not gone. Like he's going to come back. He's fucking Sub-Zero. He's coming back. But here's my problem mainly with the movie, which the big problem we're gonna get to a little bit later. But overall, when the movie lets the film be Mortal Kombat, it's fun. It's super fun when the movie lets it be Mortal Kombat. The fighting is greatly choreographed. The fight scenes are super fun. The opening with Scorpion pre-Scorpion, with the whole like Last Samurai kind of fighting, Hanzo or whatever his first name is great. When Shang Tsung and all that, or even the reptile, I'm going to call it reptile, even though it's not the character reptile, it's a reptile character. Fight in, I think it's Sonya's place. It's an enjoyable fight, mainly because of a certain character.
I love that flare. That part was cool.
Yeah, there's a certain character that makes that fight great. Without him, I don't think that fight would have been as good. But then after that fight, we get like 45 minutes of just boring ass, bland nothingness. That I'm just like,
I disagree.
I shouldn't be bored watching Mortal Kombat.
And then it definitely slowed down for that middle section, but I thought they sprinkled in enough fights that it never. Yes, there should have been a little more fight. There definitely was slower in the middle.
We'll touch on
about the characters. Anyway, yeah.
We'll touch on it. Yeah. But then when we get to the inevitable, Shang Tsung goes, "Fuck this, we're doing this shit now," and we actually get like fights. Then I had a blast. Like pretty much from when they broke through Raiden's barrier. Then on, I was all for it. There's one fight before that, or no, there was one fight during that though that I have a really, really, really big problem with. I'm sure you know exactly what fight I'm talking about, but which we'll get to. But when the movie lets it be Mortal Kombat, it's exactly what you want. That final fight with Sub-Zero and Scorpion, the aesthetics, the way it looked, like the way they're fighting in like the icicle cage, and every time they hit the cage, you hear the from the ice breaking down. That shit is awesome. That was great. I love the choreography of that fight. I thought all that worked incredibly well. So when the movie allowed itself to be Mortal Kombat, I loved it. Everything leading up to that, hated the movie. Its characters are dull as shit. The storyline is boring as hell. There are certain parts that just make literally no sense. And yeah, so it's like I'm kind of teetering on whether I really liked it or whether I'm just utterly disappointed. Like I said, now that we got our general shit out of the way, let's dive into it a little bit more deeper.
Okay.
Character-wise, let's start off with the big one. Can we talk about how they chose, through the enormous cast of amazing characters to use, they chose a creative fighter, the most bland motherfucker ever, in Cole Young. This guy, played by Louis Tan, I don't give a flying fuck about. This guy sucks. I don't give a shit about his family. I don't give a shit about him. He spends the whole time having nightmares about Scorpion, but yet then he has the ability to like rise scorpion out from the dead, and then the motherfucker. No, I'm gonna hold off on that one because that part pissed me off. That was like Spinosaurus, T-Rex, Jurassic Park 3 shit. That's gonna piss me off later. But that guy is the blandest fucking actor. Like every time he talked, I was like, shut the fuck up. Could not stand that guy at all. And he's supposed to be the character that we're supposed to relate to. Which in the first film it was Liu Kang, and Robin Shou did a fantastic job of bringing the world to us as a person who doesn't really know what's going on. Liu Kang did a great job in that in the first film, whereas we're going to touch on Liu Kang, but Cole Young. Cole Young. Go, Brian. Hated Cole Young.
I don't have too much of a problem with Cole Young. I do wonder, given the huge roster of characters, why they decided they had to create a new character.
There's no reason.
That was a head scratcher. Now it made a little bit more sense when it wasn't just creating a new character. The whole point was he was a descendant of Scorpion. He was carrying on the bloodline. That's
the only reason.
Which, by the way, opens a whole new set of questions, because if he's the only one that can carry on the blood, that means the entire way from hundreds of centuries or hundreds of years, each person only had one kid, because there was no family tree. Apparently, it was just a linear
Scorpion
thing.
had two. Scorpion had two kids. He had a daughter and he had a son, and the daughter survived.
But the daughter survived, but then that daughter apparently only had one kid, and that person only had one kid, because otherwise, why wouldn't the bloodline have spread out over a larger family tree, is what I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. It's
apparently it's a direct line down to him, and then I assume eventually his daughter is going to pass on to. That's I was kind of worried early on that it was going to end up being, because they talk about the rise of the Hanzo's bloodline. I thought, it's going to turn out like the girl's going to be the one to come kick ass, and like that was going to make me roll my eyes, but they didn't go that way.
No, but I'm so tired of the whole prophecy of the one. Like, we got Star Wars, the Matrix, and stuff. I'm like, Cole Young is not the fucking savior. Like,
well, that's just it wasn't even so much it was. I think there's the fact that they wanted to continue the Scorpion bloodline, which
I didn't understand. Scorpion back from hell and keep him there.
Yeah, but the thing is, Scorpion and Sub-Zero to me are characters that. I mean, they're obviously very much they're essential Mortal Kombat, but at the same time, it's like the same time it's like, okay, I've seen a lot of them, and I liked the fights they had in this. Actually, even the end fight, I did enjoy the fight, although it kind of went on a little long. But yeah, but we're on the Cole character. I didn't find him super exciting, but I also didn't find him super bland. I thought he did fine. He's kind of the character. A lot of these movies have like the character that you're following just to kind of bring you like through the world, and the other characters kind of the more colorful people, which is kind of what happened here. So do I agree with them creating a new character? No. Did I hate him the way you clearly did? No.
Oh my God, he's a fighter who constantly takes a beating. So what's his Akana? Absorbing all the beatings that he takes and does a Black Panther kind of thing. Fuck you. No. I get the irony of it. He's a fighter who takes a lot of abuse, so his power is taking hits and absorbing the blows back. Like,
I'll take that over somebody else's power of just getting pissed off. But anyway,
that's what he did. What's the that we're gonna talk about the Akana later. Jesus, that's only said part of this stuff that was just like so fucking pointless. But I mean, Cole Young is just, once again, by the end of the movie, he's the savior. It's not Liu Kang, who it should be. I
don't agree. I think Liu Kang is like, I think
Liu Kang is always through the whole thing, the whole video game series. Liu Kang is like the Ryu or the Guile.
Right, but the problem is Liu Kang has been done as it's like, do we want to see a rehash of Liu Kang's the main guy again? Like, no, I'd rather follow another character. I'd like seeing Liu Kang being a supporting character.
Cool. You know who they should have done? They should have done fucking Kung Lao, who was a badass, and then they killed him off.
You're down like a bitch.
Yes. He's the best. He was the most entertaining fighter.
I will say, although he's kind of got that Captain America thing going on with his hat, but
that's Kung Lao in the game, though.
But yeah, but I'm saying it's kind of like you watch it now and it's kind of like, okay, we've seen that done a lot. But Kung Lao, I will say, I liked him in this movie. Might as well jump to him next, because I also like Kung Lao very much. He had the best kill in the movie with the buzzsaw thing we did with Natara.
When he set it up, I was like, oh shit, are they actually going to do the face? They are! Yes!
That was probably the best kill of the movie. But yeah, I really liked him. And so kind of when he went down, I was kind of like, oh, yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like every character that had, to me, the coolest character or the most important character or the character that you want to watch or gravitate towards, they killed. Scorpion, they killed. Sub-Zero, they killed. Kano, they fucking killed. Kung Lao, they killed. It's every character that I was like, I like these guys. I like this character. They fucking kill, and we get left with the what we got left with. Kung Lao, no, I didn't really care for the acting because he's a stuntman. He's not an actual like legit actor, but he made everything.
I thought his acting was fine.
He was just more like tough guy talk solo like this.
Yeah.
It's like that's fine. It's for the character. That's fine. I kind of wish I would have gotten a little bit more out of him. But the actor, what's his name? Max, is that Huang? Huang? How do you say it? I thought he did a great job as Kung Lao. Acting wise, he's not the greatest, but none of the acting in this movie is great. But I mean, it's on par with what we needed for the film to work. But I loved Kung Lao. I was like, he should be the one, which I think that's initially what they were doing. Kung Lao was straight up the leader. He was going to be the one to like lead the tournament, and Liu Kang was like his number 2, and then they killed him, and it's like, oh no, what are they gonna do? And it's like, well, you still have fucking Liu Kang. It's Liu Kang. Liu Kang is supposed to be the champion. Let's roll right into Liu Kang. I like the actor. I really actually enjoyed him as Zack in the Power Rangers film from a few years back. Could not stand the dialogue of Liu Kang in this film. I liked Liu Kang's fighting. He did the bicycle kick. He did the dragon. He did the fireballs. All that shit. Liu Kang looked fantastic until he talked. And he basically just sounded like a monk the entire film. And like the whole time shut up. I
just
know.
Say he is a monk.
Shut up. But what I'm saying is like, shut up, Brian. But what I'm saying is like when he takes Sonya and Kano and Cole into the cave, I guess is what I want to call it, Raiden's temple, and he's explaining everything. I'm like, dude, you're putting me to sleep. Like we need Robin Shou back. Like I need his voice. I need him, like I said, Liu Kang looked great, but it just made me miss 1995's Liu Kang. It made me miss him so much because he at least was his acting great? No, but he definitely had more charisma and more oomph to the character than what we were getting from was it Zach or Ludi Lin?
Ludi Lin, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like I say, loved his fighting. Could not stand him when he talked though.
Yeah, I loved his fighting. I thought he got the look down to me. I didn't mind his acting. I don't think it was his acting. I think it was just a different take on the character. Because here I think the character was more zen. He was and I know that's not what you're looking for. And with Robin Shou or Shou's, his was more, he's more energetic and he was more aggressive. Like, he was like, I want to get in the fight kind of thing.
But better.
Which is just a different take on the character. And again, I just didn't have a problem with it.
Well, it's just one of those things you're used to the Liu Kang that we've had. And so like that's the mindset you got. And this is the one we get. And it's like, I get it, it's a different take, but I didn't really like the different
things. Like in the video games though, it was never he that energetic wanting to get into the fight. He was the more zen character in the games too. When they did,
there wasn't really a whole lot of dialect or anything in the games. It's usually like
cutscenes and things. Yeah. Well, yeah. More in the later games, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, but like I said, I think we both enjoyed the fighting when he did the whole dragon thing, and when he did the bicycle kick, I was like, yeah, I love the bicycle kick. I would have loved to have had him do the kind of thing, but he didn't do it. I will say this: if there was 2 characters that I think they really dropped the ball on.
Oh, okay.
Really dropped the ball on. two characters that were super important to the film, and they were awful in the movie. And that was Raiden and Shang Tsung. Raiden is supposed to be the teacher, the leader, the one that kind of is there to get them riled up and ready. And what's he do? Shows up, says, "You suck," and leave. "You're not good enough. Leave. You just might as well leave." Then he leaves. What the fuck is the point of Raiden in this film? Christopher Lambert, I mean, don't.
Christopher Lambert was horrible. He was awful. I mean, awful Raiden. He's a horrible actor, first of all. He can't deliver a line of dialogue convincingly.
You know what? He might not be able to deliver a line of dialogue, but he did 1,000 times better than the Raiden in this film.
Oh, now the Raiden in this film, who, by the way, was, I forget his name, one of the Warriors 3 in Thor.
Yeah.
Hogan, I think that's his name. I will, in this movie, he was very bland, and it was kind of like, why is he here? And Shang Tsung was kind of the same way. He was kind of like just kind of the head of the other side, but he didn't really do much of anything. I mean, the one time he did anything was to suck the soul out of Kung Lao.
The main problem is Shang Tsung's the main villain.
Yeah.
And he's got zero charisma. Like, once again, 95. He was great.
He was the best. I think he was that Shang Tsung in 95, I will admit. Totally better. Which is why they used him again actually in MK Legacy 2 in the webisodes. Yeah. He played Shang Tsung again.
Because he did a fantastic, commanded the screen. Every time he was on screen, he had the focus. There was not a single time in this film, except for the soul grabbing part, that I was like, he
didn't do anything else. Yeah.
It's like, you're pointless. What's the point of you?
But the Raiden in this film, I will admit, was bland. I mean, it didn't make me hate the movie, but I did think he was extremely weak as a character. But the problem is, if you say, okay, we're going to compare him to the previous Raidens, oh my God, he is so much better than, obviously better than James Remar, but so much better.
We're not talking Annihilation.
We're Christopher Lambert was just as bad. I mean, we'll not get into the whitewashing controversy of it, but just the fact that he was not a good actor either in that movie.
He had so much more to do in that 95 version to the team than this Raiden did, who just showed up, said, "You suck," and then leave. I
don't think he did anything more though. They just gave him more exposition. Was the only thing they gave him more of in that movie though.
You talking about in 95?
Yeah.
95, he was a mentor to Liu Kang and to Sonya and to Johnny Cage.
Just by talking to them, doing exposition.
But I don't care. But he did more to build them up as characters, to get them prepared for the tournament, than this guy who's just like, you guys aren't ready. Earth's doomed. And leaves. And that's all he does. It was all Kung Lao and Liu Kang who did all the fucking work. Raiden and his lightning effects weren't even that great in this movie. It was just utter disappointment. Raiden is one of the most loved characters in the Mortal Kombat verse. And I'm not blaming it on the actor. It's not the actor's fault, because we've seen him in stuff like Thor. He's good. It's, once again, the director's decision to utterly waste him. I'm not even blaming the actor who plays Shang Tsung, who plays is it Lao in Dark Knight?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not a bad actor either. But you completely and utterly give him no character development in this film, other than Shang Tsung, Soul Eater, bad guy. That's all you get. There's no building of his character like we got in 95. He is the most important villain up to a point in this franchise, and he's just a guy who just walks around and just kill them. That's it. Kill them.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you too much on these two characters. They were definitely bland and underused.
They're two characters that should have been utilized to their fullest potential, and you literally could remove them, and the movie is still the same movie, except for Kung Lao wouldn't have died, which would have made it 10 times better. On a positive note, the best character in the movie, Kano.
Clearly Kano.
I will tell you this. When I heard the casting of Kano with Josh Lawson, I was like, the wimpy guy from House of Lies?
Yeah, that's just it. That's just it. I know him from House of Lies is the main place I know him from, which I love House of Lies.
I love House of Lies too.
And especially him. I thought he played, but he was definitely the wimpy guy. Yeah. I'm not even sure, because I've seen him in other stuff. He's been in Superstore but he's done some other movies. and I don't even know. I'm
But even
trying to
then,
look and see.
he plays like the same thing, kind of like a wimpy, maybe like a sleazeball, but nothing like a badass.
Right, but I've seen him in some movies. I was kind of the same way. I'm like, I really like him, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to work. But actually, the minute I saw the first trailer, I'm like, yeah, they sold me. He's got it.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like we were both in agreement. It was kind of one of those like he must have did something to get this role. Like he must have really showed up in the audition. But yeah, as soon as he pops up, I'm like, okay. Because granted, like that was one of the things I was most disappointed about with 95 was like I said, because Kano was my guy on Mortal Kombat 1, and he was a nothing character. And the best thing he's known for is Sonya, don't in 95, and then spitting on Sonya's leg when she breaks his neck. Where in this, I mean, he gets so much to do. He gets so many lines. Does he talk a little too much? Sure, but
yeah, that's just it. He was clearly the most entertaining character. He was very much kind of. A lot of times he's kind of going for that Sawyer from Lost kind of thing. He's giving everybody nicknames, calling him Magic Mike and things like that. And but he has all the best, most hilarious lines to the point where there were even times where even I was kind of going, okay, let's dial it back a little bit. And then there's like two different times in the movie, but like they say, do you ever shut up? And then he says, you talk too much. And I'm kind of like, yeah, he does. I mean, as much as I enjoy you, let's.
None of that Harry Potter shit. Don't call out other movies in this thing. Come on, bro. But it's like, but granted, he was the most entertaining. Why? Because he was the one who knew what movie he was in. He's in a Mortal Kombat film. Everyone else is playing it, like I said, dull, super serious, which certain characters need to do that. But like, I'm sorry, it's like he was trying to bring Jessica McNamara's Sonya out. And he would at certain points, but then she would just reserve herself again back in. I'm just like, come on, like this is supposed to be your ultimate arch rival, which in this movie they weren't playing it off that way.
Well, that just surprised me, especially in the beginning where, I mean, obviously he wasn't a good guy because she had captured him, but it's like he was working with the good guys through most of the way. I'm like, really? I mean, I guess just because he's from Earthrealm, I guess maybe they're just doing Earth versus Outworld kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you can have a team that doesn't get, it's a whole dynamic of they don't get along, but they have to fight together. But I'm like, it's a strange take on it to be like, oh, Kano's working with the good guys. Okay. Which is why when he made that turn, okay. I'm like, okay, I get it now.
Like that makes sense now. Yeah. But I mean, it's like I said, Kano was fun. Like I said, he knew what movie he was in.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, even besides the dialogue, there'd be little things like I remember when
Sonya throws the knife and hits him in the leg.
Sorry, but then says something like it says something about, where's your marking? And she says, I don't have one. And you hear Kano off camera going, wah, wah. And then later on when they're going into the fighting pit and Kung Lao, whoever stops, she goes, oh, the fighting pit is only for the chosen ones. And he goes, fucking whoops. I love that line.
Yeah, like Kano had some great zingers in the movie. Yeah. I loved, and then they fucking killed him. It's like, he's too good of a character to kill off. But
again, it's Mortal Kombat, so who knows? No one's dead.
No, Kano's always a character that dies by Sonya's hand. But you knew when they kept beating it into a dead horse that Sonya wasn't going to be a part of it unless she got the symbol. It's like, okay, that just means she's going to have to kill Kano.
Well, and when they made it clear that if you kill someone with it, that it comes to you, and like, okay, we know who she's getting hers from.
But it was one of those things where it was not to go MCU with it, but it was like a Killmonger situation where it's like you like Killmonger or even Andy Serkis's character. I'm blanking on his name. Claw. You like them so much that it was like, don't kill them. We want them to stick around. Yeah. And it's like that's what we felt like. Kano was like, don't kill Kano. Like, don't kill him. We need him in this movie. But yeah, Josh Lawson did great. I loved Kano in this film.
He was the best part of this movie by far.
Absolutely. And I mean, going into Sonya, Jessica McNamara, she was fine. Like, it's just,
I thought she was fine. I mean, I don't think she was like a standout performance or anything, but
she was the exposition woman of the film. But I mean, she did an okay job. It's just I feel like her character just needed a little more lightening up. It shouldn't have like the Johnny Cage love story like in 95, which wasn't needed. It wasn't needed. But it's just like she did fine. I really had no problem with her, just like I had no problem with Jax. I had no problem with Jax at all. McCade or McCad Brooks, I actually like that actor. I think he did a fine job as Jax, but they shelved him for about good 20, 30 minutes of the film. But I liked him. I have no qualms with Jax or Sonya in this film, except that Sonya probably could have lightened up a little bit. Now, Scorpion, Sub-Zero. Do you have anything for Sonya or Jax?
No, it's kind of the same as you. I mean, I actually liked Sonya. I thought she did a perfectly fine job. She wasn't like this, like I said, the standout performance, but I liked her just fine. I thought she did the role sufficiently. Jax is kind of the same way. He was clearly a secondary character in this, and he played his role fine. Again, I mean, he got a couple good lines here and there, but other than that,
he had his big moment. He had his big moment too.
Yeah. So. You know what I got to say about the moment? So you're talking about when he does the head smash and
says,
No.
I'm talking about when he has the weak arms and he has to save Sonya and like.
When he gets his arms. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There was that, and then he got to have that good fight scene where he ends with the head smash. He goes, "Yeah, these fucking motherfuckers work."
With the always awful acting of the former professional wrestler Nathan Jones, who plays was it Riku?
General Riku, yeah. My one problem though with that fight and that scene is that you play it out on one of the most iconic locations in Mortal Kombat. It's the pit. It's the bridge over that you can even see the spikes down in the pit. And they don't do the pit fatality. Come on.
I mean, come on.
As much as I like the head smash, how do you not do the pit fatality?
Honestly, if I was a director, how I would have done it is you would have had him, on his knees like he did, and he goes, nah. And just straight up uppercuts his head clean off. But the body comes flying, and you watch the body and the head go spike.
See,
that's Mortal Kombat, everybody.
But you cannot.
That's how you fucking
use that location and not have them fall in the pit. Come on.
Exactly. And the fight was like 2 moves, and it was over. But granted, I mean they're on a bridge. They're big guys. They're not really gonna be able to move a whole lot. Sub-Zero. Clearly the best fighter in the movie in terms of actor, because
and I will say right now, if any of you have not seen The Night Comes for Us, that movie is probably my favorite martial arts film of all time. It's just so intense.
Was it you that told me to watch that?
Probably
was. It's on Netflix, guys. If you have not seen this film. There's a lot of.
Obviously, he's great in the Raid. The Raid movies are great, but this movie is like so much more. Yes.
If there's anything to tell you guys, don't watch Mortal Kombat. Go watch The Night Comes for Us. That's a way better fucking film. It's so fucking good, and he is amazing in it. But whether he was Sub-Zero or Scorpion, he's a perfect casting choice for these films. Like I said, him and I love her. Hiroki Sanada.
Yeah.
Hiroyuki Sanada. But I love both those actors. I think they're both fantastic actors. So anything with Scorpion and Sub-Zero in it, I enjoy because I like the actors playing the characters. Their fight in the beginning and their fight in the end. I wish we would have had a little bit more of Sub-Zero in the middle just because of the actor. I just wanted him to have more to do.
This is part of the reason why I said I don't care about the Scorpion Sub-Zero. That's not quite completely true. I would have cared about them more if they were a thread throughout the movie and not just basically bookending it. Because Scorpion is only, and then he comes back from hell apparently at the end. Yeah. And Sub-Zero, first of all, when did Sub-Zero become so OP that he's like the most powerful character in the Mortal Kombat universe? I had a problem. While I love Joe Taslim.
When you cast Joe Taslim as Sub-Zero.
While I love Joe Taslim, I'm like, come on, why is he like the big bad? He's like
that's the other thing too, is that
because they're like doing all the little fights. Like, okay, you go take care of her, you take care of him, us two are gonna take care of the others two, but then we'll all have to get together because nobody's gonna beat Sub-Zero one-on-one. Like, since when?
Luke Kang beat Sub-Zero one-on-one in '95.
Right. Well,
what's up? It's because Joe Taslim is Sub-Zero.
But suddenly he's the most OP character in the game. Yeah.
But it's one of the things where I think it's like none of them could figure out how to deal with the ice. I mean, like honestly, his fight with Jax was great. I mean, as little as it was, but like that whole shot
again ruined by the trailer. But okay,
yeah, exactly. It's in the trailer. But no, I agree. Scorpion and Sub-Zero sold everyone to see the film, but they were literally trailer fodder. Because everything, for the most part, that we saw in the trailer is what we see in the movie. We see everything we seen in the trailers. The movie's just a longer version of that, but we saw pretty much all the good shit except for like the death blow in the final part of the film. But yeah, it's like you synced everyone into the film to see Scorpion Sub-Zero, but it's not a Scorpion Sub-Zero film. It's everyone else, and then they show up here and there. I mean, okay, but let's face it, that's the story I cared about. That's the story I wanted to see. I would have much preferred a Scorpion Sub-Zero prequel film, which they just did an animated, I think, Scorpion's Revenge. Or
Scorpion's
like
Revenge
that.
is actually a very good animated film. If you haven't seen that, I would recommend that as well.
That's when they flip the script, because normally Scorpion's the bad guy and Sub-Zero's the good guy. Normally, they flip the script on that, which I didn't hate, because I always preferred Scorpion over Sub-Zero. I think most people do, but still, like they were teases through most of the movie, which we know they're coming back. Clearly, Scorpion is. Sub-Zero, I'm sure.
My only thing I wondered was this before Cole got his hit absorbing power. I wondered if they were going to go with he becomes the new Scorpion, like he would get his thing and he'd become Scorpion. That's what I thought they were going with it.
Is that like at the end of the fight, at the end of like the final battle, that like Scorpion's soul was going to go into Cole, and then he would basically become Scorpion, which to me would make a whole lot more fucking sense than the body armor crap that he gets. Which
it was an ugly costume. I will say that. Like, really?
Ugly ass costume.
Really?
The only other character that I really want to touch on, well, no, there's two characters I really want to touch on real quick. They're not super big, but I think they're worth mentioning. Cabal, awesome.
Cabal. Like I said, I enjoyed playing the game because I was very good with it. Well, the thing is, when I talk about characters, I'm not sure who I'm a fan of and who I would just like because I got very good with them. In Mortal Kombat 3, I could kill anyone with Cabal. My thing with Cabal is they had a different person doing Cabal and doing the voice of Cabal, which for me was painfully obvious that the voice of Cabal seemed very animated, like it is the voice from a cartoon. They went a little cartoony with the voice of Cabal.
I kind of went more like Jackie Earle Haley, like a Rorschach, but more like comical with it.
But that's just it. It was more. It felt like something out of like an animated movie because it's like it seemed like a little comical, little cartoony.
No, to me, it felt like because the connection of the film is he's got a connection to Kano.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like a Kano kind of character.
I mean, it wasn't enough that I call it a flaw, but to me, I was like, I don't know.
I enjoyed Cabal.
But Cabal, the character, I mean, there wasn't much to it beyond, he used to work with Kano, and now he's just, but he didn't really have a lot to do with this.
Kano put him in the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but they were both part of Black Dragon.
Oh, okay. Because I just talked up to that Kano is the one who hurt him, so they weren't friends or anything.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that.
yeah. There's but they I'm not sure what history they're going with here, and I don't know the history in the games that much either. I just know they were both at some point a part of Black Dragon.
Gotcha.
And then Kano says, "Well, now I am Black Dragon." I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. And then, Melina. I'm sorry, you can't have Melina in a game in a movie without Katana.
Well, that's Melina. Actually, when I think about it, Melina I got really good within the game as well. So I didn't mind the portrayal of Melina here. I thought again she was kind of like Jax for the bad guys. She was very much a secondary character, so she didn't have a whole lot of development to it. But
Melina
I thought
is too important of a character to be treated the way she was treated in this film. They could have had. You can't have Melina without Katana. That's like having Sub-Zero without Scorpion. You can't. They're connected. So to have Melina and not Katana just felt wrong, and then to treat Melina like a nothing character just didn't work. She looked great.
I think the problem is when you have a large cast of characters, you have to decide which ones are going to be the focus and which ones are not. And while I will say that the bad guys did not have a whole lot of ones that got good focus, I thought Melina. I think that it's just one they were like, you know what, we can't focus on this one. She's going to have to kind of be a side character. And I thought as a side character, she worked fine. Again, this kind of goes back to my idea of using Cole. Do I agree with the decision to make her a side character? Maybe not. But when they decided to do that, I thought she used her fine.
One of my biggest problem with the film, how they treated Goro. Oh my God, that pissed me off. Goro is the fucking champion. Goro is the unstoppable killing machine, and they treated Goro as like a cave troll in Lord of the Rings.
He was just one of the goons you sent out.
He was just like, oh, cool, we got Goro. Goro, go kill Cole. It's like, this is fucking Goro. This is the guy that you couldn't beat to play the first Mortal Kombat. It's fucking Goro. My God. And you have fucking Cole. Take him out, but then Cole needs help to beat Melina. Fuck you. No. You're telling me he can take Goro out all by himself, but he needs help to beat Melina? Not a fucking chance. Not to mention that Goro looked like shit. His CGI for Goro not look good.
I didn't think so. I mean, it's not like Thanos level, realism, but I thought Goro looked fine. I didn't have a complaint about the CG. It definitely looked a little, especially like in the face, it looked a little bit, still CG, but it's still, I felt like he was really there in the world. I didn't feel like, some movies where it feels like somebody's fighting a big CG character. It felt like he was there in the fight in the world.
He was basically the Hulk with 4 arms.
Yeah, and I didn't have a problem with that. Again, this for me comes down to I am not that attached to the story. Yes, Goro is normally known as like the champion. He's like the main character. They decided in this one he's just going to be one of the characters in there, just goes out and fights with 4 arms. That I will say, but I enjoyed his was probably the second coolest kill of the movie for me, because when he, gets his eye out and then slash him, his guts are spilling out and stuff. I really enjoyed the fight. I really enjoyed his death.
I'm not going to argue the facts. I'm not going to argue the fact that his kill was cool. I will admit that the kill was cool, but it should have been done by Kung Lao or Liu Kang or even fucking Jax or anyone else but Cole Young.
So there you go. Let Kung Lao come back and use his hat to slice him open instead. There you go.
Exactly, and you could have fucking like sliced out the top part of his fucking head, like would have looked really super cool. But no, we had Cole Young, who can't beat an MMA fighter, but he could beat fucking Goro. Can't beat Melina without help, but can beat fucking Goro. Fuck you. No, that was like, ugh, that pissed me off. That pissed me off to no end.
This whole review has you very angry.
It is. Like I said, the fighting.
I told Sean before this, I'm like, you clearly have much more negative take than me. I'm not sure I want to do this anymore. And now I see why I need to be here to talk him down from the ledge.
It's just, I'm sorry. And I feel like a lot of people are going to be in agreement about the Goro thing. Was his death cool? Yes, it was. It was really cool. I will admit that. I'm not going to take that away from it. But you don't have Cole Young with what you gave him as a if it was because of how we described it, that he can control the soul of Scorpion, then cool, he could beat Goro. Then if he beats Goro using Scorpion tactics, I would have been okay with that. But doing what Cole Young was Cole Young for, like with the body armor thing and the, I don't know what you call the weapons he had.
I don't know what those are called either, but yeah.
Yeah, but no. Not to mention the whole idea of the Arcana. Can we talk about the Arcana?
The Arcana, yeah.
Arcana, Arcana, whatever. I mean, literally everything is.
I honestly, when they first talked about the idea, I liked the idea. It's like it kind of explains. It's like you're marked, you're chosen, but then everyone gets bestowed with their one power. It explained kind of like why Liu Kang has his fire, and somebody else can have something else, and somebody else can have something else. But then when you have okay, so Kano's power is that they get him pissed off at dinner, and so he gets bestowed with his power because he gets mad. I'm like, really?
Well, see, that's it. That's the problem. I would agree with you. The idea of it, everyone's different. Like a mutant power, everyone's different. Everyone's gonna have something different. I agree. Loved the idea. But literally, they're like, you have to train to fight to figure out what your Arcana is. And literally, I go, no, you effectively just have to get really, really pissed off. Jax had to basically have the mother thing.
Well, no, couldn't feel. Well, no, I think it was just because it's basically finding like the essence of your person. Because Liu Kang, I don't remember.
Well, he already had it. We don't know how he got it.
He explained it, but I won't get into that. But then Kano is an angry character. He was angry. I think Jax got his because he was caring for his partner, his friend. It was his loyalty. It was his saving her life is what basically gave him his power. It wasn't him getting angry. He wasn't angry lifting the rock.
No, but I mean, he was having to kind of like put all of his all of his might into lifting something. Kano was putting all of his might into being angry. Cole was screaming because he couldn't.
Because his family was in danger is why he got his. Because he realized that his center is his family.
But it all centered around them just going and then boom, it had it. Basically going to Dragon Ball Z on it and going like 5,000. That's how you get your economy. I was like, cool. Just tell them, go out there and just scream really, really hard. You'll get your superpower. Because then Sonya, she just has it. So like Sonya gets the logo.
Yeah, Sonya basically, as soon as she got her thing, she had her. So like,
it's just like, that's where it's like, I get the movie's only 90 minutes, but she just magically just gets it like that. Like, could you at least show her like not know how to use it right away? Like, come on, guys. Like, let Sonya at least. Let's once again. It's like give Sonya something. Let her build a little bit. Jeez. He's like, no, she just got it. Let's move on. It's like, no, guys, give her let her learn it. But I mean, that's the part where I was like, that's where the part where the movie just dragged for me is like, we got the whole Scorpion Sub-Zero beginning. Then we got the whole Cole Young, blah 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 blah. You know, we get the Sub-Zero Jax fight, very very cool. We get that Kano, Sonya Cole Reptile 3-way, or I guess the 4-way because it 4 of them. Which, like I said, we like that fight because of Kano. Kano wins, which is like, okay.
I thought that's cool, but again, I just wanted to say that I thought that the fighting the invisible enemy kind of has been done 1,000 times, but I thought once they put that flare in him, just kind of see him, I just thought that was a very clever way, and it was very well done.
Oh no, it was totally
cool,
especially because he used his knife, and like that looked really cool. But then after that, we got like 30 plus minutes of here's your training, you suck, you can't do anything. You have no Arcana, or however you want to say that word. Blah, blah, blah. Cole, you don't belong here. I'm going to go home and mope. Oh, Sonya, you're not worthy. You don't get to do anything. Oh, here's Liu Kang tripping Kano 5 times in a row. Then we got the winner argument.
That was hilarious because anyone who's ever played the game has played that person just as leg sweep, and that was clearly a tip of the hat to that. He's like, because he's like says something like, "Oh, is that the only move you know?" And I'm like, I've said that to 100 players in my day.
Well, no, for me it was always
that was funny to me.
It was always spamming the Johnny Cage nut punch. That was always my thing.
Yeah, no, the leg sweep was the one that's kind of classically known as like the cheat move, and so that I thought I actually liked that little tip of the hat in there.
No, but I'm just saying it's just like there's little things in there that you like, but it's just a long time of just nothing because it's all like you're not worthy, you're not gonna figure out your Arcana, we're doomed, we're gonna lose, blah 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 blah. Till Shang Tsung shows up and it's like, can we actually have the movie now? We're having the movie now? Okay, cool. And then it's like, fuck yeah, let's do this finally. And then it's fun. And
I don't think this is much different than 1,000 other movies though that kind of they start off with like good action scene or whatever, kind of like a couple scenes to get you into the movie. And then there's kind of there's a slow middle that kind of builds toward the finale battle. And it's 1,000 other movies that do it that way. So I'm not sure why this one is affecting you more than most others.
Because it's Mortal Kombat, that's why. And you know what movie did it the right way like that? The Night Comes for Us.
Well, Night Comes for Us is just action wall to wall.
Which is what Mortal Kombat should have been. Case in point, it is literally a fighting.
If it was nothing but fighting, it would get old. You gotta have some kind of plot.
You can, but you can't go 30 plus minutes of just them training, like little dinky training here and there, and then you kill the best character in Kung Lao, or best fighter in Kung Lao, and then it's like, oh, okay, now we all just know how. It's the thing that we get in a lot of the movies that irks me is that they're all not shitty fighters, but they're not good enough to win. And then all of a sudden, a split second, now they can take on everybody, and they're good. The same thing happened with the Power Rangers movie. Like Gordon's like, you're never gonna be ready. Y'all can't do good. And then they figure out how to get their suits, and then they're fucking great. They could beat everybody. Same thing with this is like Liu Kang and Kung Lao. They could do well, but even then, Liu Kang got his ass kicked by Cabal for a good chunk of the film. But then all of a sudden, Sonya can take everyone out, and she barely beat Melina, and she all of them just all of a sudden became OP at the end of the film, and it's just like, no, you can't go 30, 40 minutes of showing that they suck and that they haven't really grown as good fighters, and then all of a sudden, now they're great. It's like if you want to tell a story of them, you have to let them grow, and there is no growth outside of them going and getting their Arcana. That's their growth. Like there's no point in that film where Cole Young should have ever beaten Goro, even if with his Arcana or not, should have never beaten Goro. There's no showing in that film where that character had any chance of beating Goro, let alone Melina or Riku or Raikou, however you say his name. Jax. I believe Jax could, because Jax actually, granted, I mean, he's fighting Sub-Zero, and we talk about Sub-Zero being OP, but he could take Riku or Raikou or whatever. But it was just Sonya. I mean, she's the only other real fighter that I actually believe to be good enough to take anyone on. Even then, it's like Kano. All of a sudden, Kano could like beat the crap out of her, and like in that one fight where it's like we saw Sonya pretty much handle Kano in the desert. And then all of a sudden he gets his I-beam, and then he can handle Sonya. And it's like, Sonya should have still kicked his ass pretty. All of a sudden it's like you get that, and your XP jumps like 1,000%, and all of a sudden you become a god at fighting. Which is also one of those things too. Is like at the end of the movie when you got Cole Young, Scorpion, and Sub-Zero fighting. There's one point where I think they have the upper hand on Sub-Zero, and Scorpion gets knocked down, and Cole Young just decides, "Fuck this. Let me try to save my girl." And it's like, you're in the middle of a fight, dude. It's like,
well, I understand, like when he has the opportunity, he's trying to save them. But I had questions there because, first of all, I'm not quite sure why in the beginning Sub-Zero kills Hanzo's family and freezes them. I mean, you could see they had been impaled. There was blood in the ice and things like that. They were dead. But why he only froze Cole's family, and why he didn't bother killing them, especially knowing that one of them is further down the bloodline. So if you kill Cole, she's still gonna. So yeah, I'm not sure why they were still alive when he got there in the first place. But then also the fact that, okay, B, if you're just trying to punch them out of the ice, first of all, I'm sorry, but the impact of the ice, if you're punching that ice, is going to affect them. But also, this dude's got control of fire. Why not melt him out? Just saying.
Well, that's the thing. Is like he's constantly just going over there and like punching effectively a wall.
I understand. My only thought is he's thinking, I gotta get them out before they die. But it's like they're suffocating. They're in the ice, so if they're alive now, they'll probably still be alive in 5 minutes.
I think I'm going based off of what I saw. They were effectively dead or dying, and then when Scorpion shows up, there was that like kind of wave that happened.
There was one moment, where he.
And so, like, that was his moment. Like, I gotta get him out now. They're alive. I gotta get him out. But he's not doing anything. But there's literally at one point in the match when they're fighting in like the iced octagon, which I said still visually looked amazing, where they have the upper hand on Sub-Zero, and Scorpion gets knocked down, and it's just Cole Young and Sub-Zero, and Cole Young just goes, and just runs and starts going like, no, dude, Scorpion's down. Like, you need to fight. And he bails and goes and just tries to save the family. Like,
I felt like
fighting, that would make sense.
I felt like Cole's main task wasn't Sub-Zero at that point. I felt Cole's main task was saving my family. And it's like anytime he could get to him, and Sub-Zero would fight him off enough so he could go back to punching it some more. And so he was just taking every opportunity to go back and try and get them out of the ice.
I agree with that. But it was literally at one point, like, Scorpion gets knocked down. He looks over, sees Scorpion down, looks at Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero's like, yeah, it's you and me. And he goes, nope, and runs to go. It's like, he's gonna come behind you. He's gonna attack you. It's like you can't. It's like in any like video game. It's like, just because you walk 3 feet over there doesn't mean you're invisible. He's gonna come after you. Now, if Scorpion and Sub-Zero are fighting, yeah, take that time, go save them. But he waited for the one time that Scorpion was down to just bail on the fight. He's like, that's the wrong time to do it, bro.
At the very end, Scorpion says to him, he's like, you thought you sent me to, you taught me to suffer in hell or whatever. He said, instead I learned to control the fires of hell. And then he burns like, well, then how are you why is Scorpion getting frozen to the ground at all? Why not you just melt the ice? Just saying.
I mean, there was one point where he could have. I mean, he couldn't remove the mask or whatever to breathe the fire. Probably is what the thing. But yeah, he never does. I don't think he ever really did throw a fireball in this.
But no, but you see a lot of times, like when he's like throwing a spear and stuff, there's fire coming from his hands with the spear and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's like, why can't he just
fire his hands and melt the ice away? But I mean,
Something.
granted, I mean it's semantics at this point when it comes to that. But no, and then of course at the very, very end, like all the people that died, I mean even Goro, like they all like went to gray smoke. So it was like, are they gonna get reborn? Or
well, that's just it. Is
like,
you saw Scorpion disappear, and apparently he just went to hell and was able to come back. So
yeah, he
who
went
knows?
back.
That can happen to anybody for all we know. You know.
But like, yeah, Shang Tsung's just like, I won't bring fighters, I'll bring armies, and then he like does this, and like Scorpion or Sub-Zero turns into black smoke, Goro black smoke, I think Melina with black smoke, and it's like, is he absorbing their souls, and then he's gonna like do?
Well, that's you have to wonder. It's like how mortal are these people in Mortal Kombat? Because like for instance, Sub-Zero alone got like impaled and stabbed like 5 times, severe wounds during the fight, and he would still get up and fight some more.
And he had been alive, and he had been alive for centuries because he said that he killed Scorpion.
Yeah,
centuries
so clearly not normal mortal. But then on top of that, it's again you're dealing with sorcerers and things. So I assume nobody's permanently dead in this universe.
True. I mean, I can agree. I mean, if like I said, if they bring Goro back, I'll be okay. But I mean, you still have what was his name? Tiger Goro in the video game. There was the
Kataro.
It was someone with Katana or Kataro. But yeah, it was like Goro, but like as a tiger.
Yeah,
but it's like.
Of course, there's also Shiva, the female.
Yeah, you got Shiva. You still got to bring Shokan in the mix.
I assume he'll be the main villain in the next one. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that Shang Tsung didn't get defeated in
Kintaro.
this.
Kintaro is the name.
Kintaro. I knew it started with a K.
There's Motaro, who's like the centaur one.
The horse. Yeah, the horse guy. Which is also why I was like, they picked that. That's the part of me that's like, why did they pick Melina? Because you had the wing lady, which I don't even know if she's actually a character in Mortal Kombat. Is she?
Natara. She was in one of the games that was not in arcade. She was in like Deception, Armageddon.
Yeah, so it's like I didn't even remember her. And then Raikou, he's not.
He was also in one of those. Yeah. Yeah,
so it's like, so if you're gonna have just like kind of nothing villains, don't throw Melina into the mix. Give us like Sector or Cyrax or Smoke or Ermac. Give us someone that's like, we recognize them, but they're not a huge character. Whereas like, yeah, Melina, it's like, okay, well, if Melina's here, where's Katana? It's one of those things. Like don't give us that one character that is strictly tied. I Sector, you would have Cyrax, but give us someone like a Motaro or someone like that, where it's like, cool, we know who that is, but you're not connected to another character that's not in the film. And that was my problem with Melina. It's just like, she's too important to have her there and then get killed when you know that there's a story there with Katana and Shokan and all that. That was my main problem.
Well, it's funny, man, because the Shao Kahn, Melina, Katana relationship,
Jade would have
always felt exactly to me like the Thanos, Gamora, and Nebula relationship.
Yeah,
where they're both kind of these stepdaughters, adopted people of Shao Kahn, basically, but then one of them is essentially good and one of them is actually working for him is bad, and just that whole relationship. So
you could have also had his wife as like kind of like Shang Tsung's number 2, and then she killed, and that brings Shao Kahn out, or even Melina because they killed her mother, kind of thing, or faux mother. I can't remember if that's her real mother or not.
I don't remember versus because I remember the movie and the game and the different. I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, granted, through this review, yes, I attacked the film a lot. It was one of those things like, well, I mean, because like, Brian, you're loving a lot of it, and I could double down and go, yeah, I loved all that too, which I did in certain points. But the problem is that there are some real issues with the film. And I may have been a little bit more angrier than I should have, but I mean, the Goro thing really pissed me off.
I think for the most part, we both really love the same parts, but for me, the things that I liked were enough that I'm like, I can overlook a little bit of the weaknesses here, and I didn't mind these things as much. For you, I think that you loved a lot of the same parts, but then the other stuff, you just like, no, I'm going to separate that, and which is fine. I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's like you seem like it's nagging at you. You're like, oh, I hate this so much.
It is nagging at me because there's so much good in the movie that this stuff is just glaringly sticking out to me. it's like there are movies like that with you where you're like, man, I really love this, but God, this one part really.
Yeah, like that's why I said it's not a bad thing. I'm not criticism of you. It's a valid viewpoint. It's for me. I was like, you know what? I liked it enough that the things that I didn't like as much, I'm okay with.
That's why I'm explaining myself here, because when we go to like my overall score, like I said, I'm still right there. Like, I think I'm more, if I watch this, next week or 6 months from now, knowing what happened, stuff like that, I will probably be more receptive to it. I'll probably be like, because I already know what to expect. I'm not expecting all this stuff. This is what it is. I'll probably like it a lot more later than I do right now. So I mean, going to my overall score for it, I'm giving it a 64%, which is a C for me. Like I said, it's a solid first attempt. It has a lot of issues, but on what Mortal Kombat is and what it should be, it did fantastic on. Am I expecting a sequel? Absolutely. Do I want to see a sequel? Fucking absolutely. I just think they need to build and grow on the stuff that worked and tweak the shit that didn't work, which, I mean, you're supposed to do with every movie, and don't just double down on what was good and still keep the crappy stuff like the Transformers movies did. What would you say for your overall score and review of it?
I'm actually still kind of wavering on that. For me, I don't tend to do percentages, because especially if I tried to give a letter grade, for me it'd probably be a B, because it's not a perfect movie, but this is the kind of movie I judge not on, not comparing it to Schindler's List and things like this. I'm judging this movie on what it is, and for me, it delivered on what I wanted from it. So I give it a B, which for me is like 4 stars out of 5, maybe a 3.5. I'm still kind of wavering on that.
I'm a 3-star. So
yeah, but it's like when I say 3.5, you're thinking that's like 70-something%, and that on a grading scale we consider a C, and see that's not. So for me, it doesn't directly translate, but yeah, I'm going to say a B, probably 3.5 or 4 stars for me.
Yeah, I consider 3.5 a 65 to a 70. So I said 64. So it's like it's almost 3.5, but it's not quite. That's how my ratings work. So it seems like we're almost kind of in the same spot. Like
it's weird because we're kind of in the same range, but I consider mine way more positive. So mine's more like a 79, almost 80.
Yeah. So like here's the thing, because like if I went 1% more, then it's 3.5 stars, and it's a B, and that's a B grade.
For me, 3.5 is actually a very positive rating, though. That's just it.
Yeah, with me, a 3-star for this. I mean, compared to how I normally review things and stuff like that, to me, like a B grade is kind of where most of the movies that I like will land, unless they blow me away. Then they get higher, to the A stuff. Whereas a C is like, I see the potential, it just didn't quite get there, but it has the ability to do something great. It just needs a little more tweak to it. So it's solid. It's not great. It's not awful. It's just right, which is average. That's exactly what a C grade is average. But yeah, so I mean, like I said, we said a lot of things. Me more stuff in anger than Brian. But I think for the most part, if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, if you're a fan of the movies, the games, the cartoons, everything of it, are you going to like Mortal Kombat? I think for the most part, the answer is yes. Are you going to have problems with it like I did? Absolutely. Are you going to be able to look at those problems and in the eye not care and like it more, like Brian? Probably, absolutely. I guess it depends on, what problems are going to arise. Like I said, the Goro thing really rubbed me the wrong way.
I will say this, that one of the things this movie has going for right now is the fact that it's one of the ones that Warner Bros. Put out on HBO Max, because rather than go watch it in the theater again, if you want to watch it again, you can easily just jump to the scenes you do like or skip the stuff you don't.
Exactly. So like if I wanted to rewatch it right now, I can just go rewatch all the fighting scenes and skip all the boring crap in the middle that I didn't like, which is great. And for me, my movie theater opens up next Friday. Finally, my God, it's been over a year. So now I can actually go back to the theaters and watch things. And I don't think there's anything that comes out next week. So it's like, wah, wah. I finally get my theater open back up. There's nothing coming out next week. It'll probably be like Mortal Kombat, Kong, Godzilla.
It'll be the same stuff.
There. Exactly, something I already watched. Not that I wouldn't go see Kong Godzilla on a big screen because it deserves to be seen on a big screen.
But just to reiterate, the one thing you should take away from this review is go to Netflix and watch The Night Comes for Us. That's all you need to know.
Yes, cue the picture for The Night Comes for Us. Yes, if there is one thing that we can both agree on, The Night Comes for Us is way better than Mortal Kombat. We hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, like I said, I don't know of any new movies coming out here in the next week or two. I mean, we're entering summer with May, so
theatrically, there's not much coming out for a couple weeks. There's a lot of stuff starting to hit streaming soon, like Without Remorse and things like that, but nothing theatrically.
Yeah, that does come out next week, but that's a Netflix film, which I'm probably I may have a review for that. Who knows? But next thing for us, like we do every Friday, we got the Weekend Crusaders. Now, this upcoming week, we didn't say this on the episode last, probably isn't going to get released exactly on Friday. We have some real life stuff coming around, especially on my end, where it probably be more coming out during that weekend. We're gonna try our best to get it out on Friday, but it might come out on Saturday. Either way, the Weekend Crusaders, 5 movies that comes out that weekend in movie history. Brian and I have been doing this now since beginning of the year. We both enjoy it and love it, and we got a great show coming this upcoming Friday or this weekend, so be on the lookout for that. Brian, any last words for Mortal Kombat and this video before we sign off for the night?
No, just like I said, I should have waited for that to say watch The Night Comes for Us, but I enjoyed it. Watch it if you like the game. I think you'll like it. You'll at least like the fight scenes.
Absolutely. Mortal Kombat. Play the if I wouldn't get copyrighted, I would play the 1995 song right now just to piss Brian off. But I won't.
Play the new dubstep version from this movie.
Which they don't play it nearly as long as they should have. They should have played that through the entire credits. But anyway, I'm Sean Wasserkrug. That's Brian Michaels. We are the Movie Crusaders. And until next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.